Pressure. I apply the pressure. 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 I apply the pressure. 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 I apply the pressure. Yeah, pressure. Pressure. I apply the pressure.
So you were in prison in Iowa. You mind telling us about the charges?
Yeah, so I was serving time for Iowa and Illinois. The entirety of my 27 years wasn't served in Iowa. Part of it was served in Illinois, uh, and they were collective charges that kind of grew out of some jackassery from the summer of '96 when we decided to supplement our income, mostly in the Quad City area, with some other parts of Illinois, uh, by robbing other drug dealers. And went on for a while and got crazier and crazier. And one night, trying to shoot the lock off a door, the bullet hits the lock and ricochets and killed one of our former friends on the other side of the door. We didn't know, that it had happened. It was shocking to us the next day that he was dead, but that was kind of the culmination of that. Like 30 days. I was mostly raised in Harvey, man, on the southwest side of Chicago. And about 30 days later, that's where they found me at, over on Halsted by those cheap motels out there, but 154th somewhere.
Wow, so you left. Did that happen in the Quad Cities and you ended up leaving and going back to Harvey?
Yeah, yeah.
So how did you get caught?
I called a relative of mine because I had left a considerable amount of money and some, weapons. I was back home. So, I needed, everything I needed to survive. And unbeknownst to me, he had allowed the police, well, I had called him previously to tell him where everything was. And when I did so, he went and told the police that I had been in touch with him. They had asked him before if I had been in touch, and he said that I had, and if I would reach back out to him, he would let them know. So I reached back out to him to tell him where the money and drugs and guns were. Funny to me, Des Moines police, they actually let him keep the money and the weed. I mean,
So he got the
I
drugs
guess
up too and everything?
Yeah. Well, they were there when I told him where everything was. The only thing that really saved me on part of it was they couldn't find the bag with the guns in it because one of my sweet aunties thought it had one of our cousins put it in her car, thought it was her clothes, and so she had taken the guns back to Davenport. It's this coincidence that saved me a lot of more charges, yeah.
And you said that was your cousin?
Yeah, that's my mama and his mama are sisters, were sisters. They're both deceased now, but we lived in Harvey, they lived in Dixmoor, right down Wood, and it's my mama's sister's son.
Why did your cousin tell on you? Was he fighting the case or what?
Oh, that was just the beginning of the telling. No, I don't, well, his nephew was involved, so maybe in an stupid attempt to save his nephew, he figured his cousin was disposable, but that was just my own brother told on me. So, we came out the same womb. And when stuff like that happens, that makes you revisit who you are. That's life-changing shit, man. You're like, damn, am I that rotten? It's the code of the streets. We're talking about two different codes. But even by either standard, I shouldn't have been deemed that rotten,
Right. So you were ultimately convicted in that case, right? 27 years?
Well, way more than that. For Iowa, I think the total was 44, and for Illinois, the total was 43. And I got a little relief on appeal, and Iowa restructured some stuff, but ultimately I was supposed to have served like 41 of it, almost 41 of it. But I got clemency from the governor. I actually completed my 19 years that I had to serve in Iowa, and was shipped to Illinois. And after spending some time in Illinois, we were able to arrange a transfer for me back to Iowa to finish my master's degree in statistics. And along with that master's degree in statistics, I chose to do an internship concerning lupus, the disease that killed my mother while I was locked up. And the governor of Illinois, he saw fit that I was the only one that was still locked up after 27 years at that point for the same crimes everyone else had done between 6 and 12 years. And my only thing was I had chosen not to inform on anyone. I hadn't committed any extra crimes above and beyond what everyone else had done.
So that's the reason why those other guys got less time, is because they decided to open their mouth?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so before this prison stint, right, have you ever been in prison before?
Yes. That was my home. For real, I did. Before that, I had done 4 years, and before that, I had done 3 years on drug charges.
Wow, that's crazy. You go from being like a career criminal to a person holding a master's degree. So it's hope for everybody out here. If y'all watching this video.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll tell you a little more about in prison.
But I want to get to this.
Okay, go ahead.
So robbing drug dealers, right?
Yeah.
That's what you was doing. You was robbing drug dealers. You accidentally killed your friend, robbing somebody?
Yeah, trying to shoot the lock off the door. So
how come you didn't think that he was dead? Like when you know, like he laying right here, he was dead. He was still talking and conscious, or what?
So we didn't know anyone was on the other side of the door. We thought the door was locked, but it turns out that the door wasn't even locked. It was him leaning up against it. And so the door didn't move on the push, so we thought it was locked. So I tried to shoot the lock off the door. The bullet ricochets off that lock and hits him on the other side of the door. The reason why we leave, it's 5 a.m. And it's so loud that we're like, oh, we're aborting this mission. Never thinking that there had been any damage done to anything other than the door, let alone having killed a human being that we know.
How quick did the police know that you guys did that?
It took a while. My cases are resolved now, so I'll tell you how it got started. I told you we were friends with that guy, and my brother had actually shared space, they had lived together before, they had hustled together before, selling drugs together. And so, he was on there on a light bill or something, and there were also clothes in the house that had his nickname on it. So he's in jail on another charge. They're not even thinking about robbery yet. They don't know what's going on yet because there was money still on his person. There was drugs still on his person. Maybe that's wrong to say they don't know about robbery yet because we had taken the drugs that were at the girlfriend house. And the reason why we ended up at the main house is because the amount of drugs that we knew he had weren't there. And she said that he had taken them with. So we were going there. So the people, they're trying to clear this homicide. This friend of the dead man is in jail, my brother. So they come to ask him about, hey, who would want to do this to your friend? I don't know that guy. Like, you know who we're here talking to you about, right? And he's like, yeah, XYZ. I don't know him. And you know, I in my mind I can just imagine the police kicking each other like under the dad's like, what do you mean you don't know him? And so he went on with that, and that made him a suspect. And when they got to talking to people that would know him, of course they put me in, and they say, yeah, they've been around here, you know, robbing people, and they go back and forth in Chicago, St. Louis, XYZ, uh, and ultimately he had left some DNA evidence from a mask at one spot, and actually grabbing a pop and drinking from a pop at another spot, and left it, and so they had him. And when the indictment came out, it was only he and I who were indicted. But when they had him, he cooked everybody.
It sounded like it was pretty lucrative for you guys robbing drug dealers, man. Like, what's the amounts of drugs you guys was getting?
You know, people think that, man. It sometimes it is. Most of the time, it's not. Man, more than anything, bro, I was still a nerd, bro. I'm not going to. I'm not hurting nobody in there. I'm going to intimidate you. And so, how far are you willing to go with that act? You know, and a lot of times you go far enough to get it. Sometimes it's just not there, or sometimes you didn't go far enough to get it. And yeah, the times that you hit that leg, it was lucrative enough to supplement everything else that you was doing. And I don't know how many young people see this. I'm reluctant to talk numbers. And plus that market has changed so much from what that's the 90s. We were selling crack, you know, and in the Quad Cities and Peoria, you know, if we were selling already cooked at 900, that was a deal to them, you know, where at home that, you know, you're lucky to get 600 for that, you know? So yeah, it was pretty lucrative.
All right, so you said you was going from different states, St. Louis and all across the Midwest, just robbing drug dealers?
Well, our mother lived in St. Louis, so we was partly raised in St. Louis. So no, we got drugs from St. Louis because we also, you know, sold water, sold PCP, which was the drug of choice in Des Moines. So we spent a lot of time in those two places.
All right, so you were telling us that when you did get arrested, you did time in Iowa and they sent you back to Illinois. What was the difference between the two prison systems?
Man, please. I don't even know where to begin. I heard verbiage that I hadn't heard in years. That I hadn't heard in years. A total different change in culture. I was pretty laid back. Don't get me wrong. You get fucked up. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean to cuss.
You good?
You get messed up in Iowa prisons. And I mean, as you know, people have gotten killed there. But for the most part, bro, it's the gangs aren't structured. People, if there's some loyalty, it's really toward the towns. You go to maximum security in Illinois, it's not, no, you're not on count. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Oh, you're going to do it because the person who has the chair of whatever mob has one central job, and that's to keep you alive. And in order to keep you alive, we can't have the young boys doing stupid stuff. So yeah, you are going to be on count. You are going to do this. You are going to shut up at 10 o'clock at night. You're not going to start back up till 10 a.m. in the morning with this noise and stuff. Respect is that's what keeps your heartbeat over there.
All right, so you had to pick an organization. Was you already in tune with the organization when you was free?
Yeah, I've been plugged since I was, I guess officially since I was 15, but really around 13. I'm a traveler. I'm a vice lord.
Vice lord, okay.
Yeah.
And from the south suburbs of Chicago.
Yes, from the southwest side. But I'm plugged out of the Rockwells.
Okay.
Yeah.
West side.
Yeah.
All right. So when you go to Illinois, you decided to come back to Iowa prison system. How did that happen? How
So
could you switch prisons? I'm trying to figure that out.
there was no way for me to finish my master's degree in Illinois because Illinois is just a different animal. Illinois has 35, I think it was 35,800 less that I knew, when Iowa had just like 7,800. And in Iowa, there's a chance of administrators getting to know you and kind of loosening the reins on certain things for certain people. Over there, this is too big of an animal. It's just you're not getting that type of luxury of having a laptop or email. The one thing that, I mean, serendipity, bro. The former Iowa Department of Corrections director became the Illinois Department of Corrections director, John Baldwin. And he was like, yeah, my given name is Johnny. And he's like, yeah, I know Johnny. I don't have no problem taking him, letting him go back to Iowa if he wants to go back.
So you can be in one prison system and go to any prison system, or is that
no?
What was the special circumstance behind?
It's usually something that you don't like. It's a word you don't like. It's interstate agreement on compact detainers. So with this, states can switch prisoners. Most of the time, it's for people who they're hiding out. Somebody might be running from their mob or something, and they're like, hey, send them to Idaho, somewhere away from the Midwest or something. At the time, Iowa and Illinois hadn't been doing business for some reason. They hadn't been doing any exchanges. But now they had a director who had been the director in both states. And he knew that of my plan that was to finish my master's degree and go up for clemency. And he knew my record of what I had done for, like, at that point, like the last 14 years in prison, and ultimately, I guess, my last 20 years in prison of teaching and mentoring and keeping the peace, And so they made it happen, and I came back to Iowa to finish my master's degree.
How did you feel when you got up out that Illinois system and made it back to Iowa?
Man, man, please, man. Man, if the police would have pulled that van over, I'd have kissed the ground, man. Like, man, I mean, bro, and I'm saying that as a dude, I mean, with some status and who was plugged, man. I just didn't want to. I had spent so much time out of that. I had no desire to be in that anymore, man. My life was so different, man. The stuff that I thought about and cared about was so different. Man, it was like a miracle when they crossed that "Welcome to Iowa." I'm like, oh, thank you, man.
Home sweet home.
Huh? Yeah. You want to know the night before it happened? About the night. So I had these blood pressure pills, and the nurse, she comes to me, like, hey, Mr. Pippins, I need your blood pressure pills. I'm like, well, shit, we messed up because I need them too, So she thought that was funny. She's like, no, you're going somewhere. They'll give them to you at your next facility. And one of the things they had done when I got there, they had overclassified me. So I wanted to know if I was going to Iowa or if I was just going to another less security prison in Illinois. And she's like, I can't tell you that, like, man, come on, man. Like, man, why would you come here with your hair looking that pretty with that ugly ass attitude? She's like, it was an older lady, so she kind of felt that. She's like, don't tell nobody I told you. Like, I never heard of this. It's Corralville. I'm like, oh, that's Coralville, Iowa. Yeah. Here, take all of this medicine, take everything. I'm out of here. You couldn't tell me the man I was going. Man, I couldn't sleep, man. Like, it was like I was going on parole, man, getting out of there, man. And I mean, that's bad, man, because it's all black people down there, all black and brown people, man. And man, it's horrible. You would think with some of the politics of this state that you would be totally uncomfortable if you had to be incarcerated here, but no, not at all, man. Not at all. It's just over there at any moment it could go.
Right, there was a power keg over there.
Yes, yes.
A powder keg, I should
Mhm.
say. But yeah. So you were working on your master's degree at that time. That seemed like, to me, did you have a high school diploma before you got into the jail system, or did you know you were smart, or what?
Uh, yeah, I guess I did not have a high school diploma before I went to prison the first time. It was a challenge from my uncle, who's deceased now. He was like, this is my guy. You know, he lived in Arkansas, my Uncle Sonny Boy. You know, I called him asking for some money, and he's like, nah, I ain't gonna give you no more money because you kind of dumb, you know. Where they come from, Uncle? You always tell me how smart I am. Like, where your high school diploma at? I'm like, they let you do it in here, man. I can do that in a day. That doesn't take anything. And so another reporter, I told her this story. She went and checked it out to see if I was telling her the truth. That the lady said, yeah, we couldn't let him take all the tests in one day, but over the course of 2 days, he took his test, and in 2 areas, he was in the 90th percentile of only them, like 10% of the people who scored better than you that took that test, just dry taking the test. So, I mean, at that point, I started thinking like maybe what people been telling me was kind of true, because, you know, I've been out of school for a while, and just to go take those tests and not fail any of them. And one of the places I hated the most living at, because we moved around a lot after my parents divorced, was St. Louis. And at one point, I remember we were in 7th grade, and some people came in to give us a test, maybe mid-year. And so our teacher's telling us, hey, we can't answer any questions. We can't do this. We can't do that. Like way more stuff than what they normally tell us about this test. And so we take the test, and no, I don't think anything of it. 2 days later, I come to school, and the principal, Mr. Sharp, he's standing out there with the big, tall white lady and little short white dude. He's like, Johnny, can you come in the office and talk to you for a minute? All right. Yeah, I ain't done anything. And so they start asking me about the test. They like, which teacher were you with? I'm like, Miss Beeks. I'm like, your favorite teacher? Like, yeah, Miss Beeks, my favorite teacher. Like, how much help did she give you? I know she didn't help you do the whole test, but like, did she tell you what certain words mean? And like, she said that at the beginning they told us that they couldn't give us any help. So they get to telling their little spiel about different anomalies, and they would like for me to take my test again. All right, whatever. But your mom had to come up here, you know, and sign. I'm like, oh, no. Come on, man. I didn't cheat on, because now this changes stuff. Because my mom don't play about school, you know, and especially she a single mother on her own. And she can't be missing, you know, time from work for me acting a fool in school. But they insisted on her coming, and it wasn't as bad as what I thought when she found out. You know, she was kind of ticked off. I still don't really know what's going on. So I take this test. It turns out that this was an IQ test. And for those junior high schoolers, I had scored the highest. But not only had I scored the highest, when they retested me, I scored 3 points higher than I had before. And it was with them testing me. So that was the big thing. You know, my mom, man. My mom was just this wonderful lady, man. And, you know, she knew if you were lying or not. And she asked me, like, did you cheat? Like, no, Mom, I ain't cheat. And she told them, no, he didn't cheat. And they like that's really, no, that was enough for her, because she knew, you know, there was pride in me, man. I take pride in academics, man. I want to have done it on my own. if you want to insult me, man, you really, if you question my intellect, that's the insult with me, because I've always been sensitive about being smart. And so when I found out what it was, I was happy too. Like you know how we used to tell your kids, that's what you get.
Right. You ended up taking that test, scoring 3 points higher than you did the first time. What was the people's reaction that was doubting you?
I mean, so the lady who actually administered the test, she was kind of nice. It was the male. He didn't even come back when she brought those results. He didn't come back, and so the lady, she was kind of in a celebratory mood. She wasn't rotten about it. But when you really get old enough to understand, that this was this wasn't primarily, this was 100% black school. And so we had to have been cheating. There wasn't any kid performing that high. And even my stepdad talked to me about it. I'm like, I don't know what they've been out of shape about that easy ass test. Everybody should have been. And he was trying to get me to understand that it wasn't kind of like not necessarily right answers. He's trying to get me to understand, stuff that I didn't really understand at that point. But yeah, I just didn't understand why they were bent out of shape about that particular test. It seemed pretty easy to me, and I guess the numbers revealed that.
All right, so you make it back to Iowa, transferred in prison. You started studying. What was you studying when you first got back?
Well, I didn't start once I got back. I had already, at that point, before the transfer, I had already earned my bachelor's degree in sociology. And I was actually doing my prerequisites on my the calculus cycle and diff EQ and all that stuff that you have to do to get into a statistics program. So that's what when I got back, I was still finishing out those, and ultimately I got into the master's program at University of Idaho,
Right, and
the distance program.
Idaho,
yes.
So they came to the prison system and helped?
No, it was an online program, and that part of that online program is how I had originally met the director, who is now in Illinois, because it was him who had approved me to pursue my master's degree. So it made sense for him, to allow me to go back. So when I came back, that's what I finished out my prerequisites, and I started at the University of Idaho, a distance program that was conducted online and by virtue of email assignments and something that they call Blackboard, that this school system, internal system.
And that stuff helped you get out of prison quicker, earning those degrees?
I think, well, one of the things that helped, I had a world-class attorney. My mom passed away, unfortunately, but her and my wife basically funded my education. And that last little bit of money that we had, we took and we gave to an attorney named Nate Neiman, who is now clerking in the Southern District of Iowa to become a judge. So that tells you about him. Most of the time, defense attorneys don't get to become judges. And he took on my case, and there's a lot of things you have to look at if it's a homicide, that's going after clemency, and they kind of specialize in this. And the first thing is, what is going to be the political blowback? How much coverage, of it? How was it heinous or not? And then my own personal history played a part. And, he said he liked, there was some things that offset it. One of the things that he loved the most was that my internship was a study on lupus patients, patients with varying counts in their lupus diagnosis.
Right.
And he was like, man, that's kind of what the board harped on. Tell us more about this. Like, he did what? Like the statistics, like, yeah, that was a big thing, but their thing was like, man, there's a changed person that's doing stuff like that. And that's kind of what the governor took their time, but they sent a message finally back to my attorney and asked him if I still have my spot in the PhD program. And when I say took their time, I mean took their time. And that was like 2 years. And so the PhD program at Iowa, they had offered me a spot, and then they had extended me that offer in 22. They offered it in 21, and they extended it again in 22. And he still hadn't made a decision. And of course, after 2 years for any graduate program, you have to reapply. And for some reason, they weren't interested in me coming home to Chicago to go to any of those schools. They were interested in me going to Iowa. So I guess if I was going to be a problem, that I would be an Iowa problem. And I didn't have that. And it was 39 days past the decision date. But I went in my email account and I wrote the criminology program and say, hey, this is what's up. And there was a new graduate studies director. There was a new department head. And anyway, long story short, I told them what was up. They looked at my old stuff. And they said, let me see if we can find the money. I don't care. I'll take out student loans. I got to get out of here and get back to life, And she was like, no, I think I got you. Just let me. Took her like 2 days, and she found the money and sent my letter. So I've been accepted like 13 days after that on May the 4th of 2023. Pritzker commuted my sentence to time served.
Pritzker, that's the Illinois governor, huh?
Right.
All right, so he commuted your sentence. That's crazy because, Donald Trump, he did something with Larry Hoover, and it seemed like Pritzker, like, dragging his feet with that, Yeah, and I think Larry Hoover is, he's locked up for the Fed case, but he's also basically locked up for one murder, and all the co-defendants are out, All right, so shout out to Pritzker for, hooking.
Yeah, absolute shout out to Pritzker. And I wonder if Nate's formula is explaining why Larry Hoover isn't out yet, because these governors look to see if it's politically palatable. This is a changing demographic, though. For a lot of people, that's a hero, I guess I didn't want to get too much into that conversation, man, but I ran across some literature. Have you heard of United Nations? Not United of the world, but that was going on between the mobs.
Not United in Peace.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I didn't run across that until I got to Illinois. I'm like, I'm with this. That was Hoover. That was Hoover spearheading this, So, I mean, man, and a lot of people like, well, he can't do nothing. It's all in sex and stuff now. As a vice lord, I say I think he can. I still think that he can, because there's still that lure, there's still that voice, and there's still that core group that's going to listen to him, man. So, I mean, I hope Pritzker does, I mean, how many years? How many years do you want?
Right. 74-year-old man.
Yeah.
What year did you get out and, how was that?
2023. Yeah, I came home. Man, it's crazy. I came home so out of shape, from almost 400 pounds, weighed 396 pounds when I came home. I weigh 303 right now. So I've been working on it. But just that poor diet in there, they just trying to keep you alive for under their watch. Just give them something. They don't care about the quality of food. So all of that starchy food, all that processed food, and sitting there eating. So I came home. I was, seemed like every other day I was going to the doctor, different stuff that she had me doing, and for good reason. The dentist, their remedy to everything, and theirs is pull the tooth. It's just it's a poor system.
All right, so I want to go back a little bit to the lupus thing that the people said that you were studying, right? Because you said your mom ultimately ended up with lupus.
Yeah, my mom in 2010 when my mom passed, my mom had lupus for 20 years. And I guess to be totally transparent, I should say that complications with lupus, but took my mom's life because it was the infection from a biopsy that actually killed her because of the lupus, which is, I found out, as I really got into my own studies, that's kind of common, and why certain doctors use certain procedures over others to try to avoid the possibility of infections.
Wow. So the prison board found out that you were studying lupus and they looked at you in a different light?
Well, in Illinois, in Iowa, you get to go in front of the board and present your case. In Illinois, your family goes to either Chicago or to Springfield with your attorney and present your case. And that seemed to have been where they spent the most time asking follow-up questions about my purported change, if I had indeed. They wanted to know more about that.
Okay, well, you get out in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
That was only a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So how did the world change?
Man, everybody had a damn gun open, which was driving me nuts. Like, what the hell? People calling me with this. Everything was electronic, online. That was, school had been, well, I guess I missed a little bit in there. I worked in the school for the last part of my prison, since like the last 7 years. No, last 10 years, I worked full time in the school. And so I had access to email, I had access to computer, I had access to internet. So a lot of it, I kind of just fell in line with. It was the phone more than anything, just threw me off. And why the hell everybody looking down, nobody looking up. Why the hell are you typing me something on the same thing you can talk to me on? And I wasn't going to do that, and I wasn't got to be married to this phone, and I am now. So, but I think that was the biggest difference was, the technology. Just the technology had exploded, and from the social science point of view, the amount of homelessness was just staggering. It was just, man, you from the same town I'm from. I mean, like, if we saw somebody homeless, we know, oh, this dude was in Vietnam, or she turning tricks and, she on heroin or something. But just to see hordes and hordes of people just sleeping outside, just living that, no, and I'm talking about even in Iowa, where it used to be a really popular thing amongst governors to have their unemployment rate under 3%. And this thing always hovered around 2.2, 2. You always could work in Iowa. And to have that information, but to still see people homeless and ultimately finding out that the problem is more than jobs, that was something that blew my mind, to see that many people unhoused.
You said that you used to be a rapper. Then how did you learn the engineering aspect of the studio?
I taught myself. I taught myself. There was a course that I had that I donated before I left prison on audio engineering. Um, I talked to our supervisor and like, hey man, it's kind of just a couple of genres, rock and country, that gets recorded here, and there's other talent available, and if I teach myself, will you make the equipment available for me to teach myself? I'm like, yeah, you guys work out how you want to split those hours. We did that, and I learned on ADAT. I became the president of MA Council and secured us some money, like every good politician does, for their cause. And we got Pro Tools in prison. And after some measure of time, when I was still MA Council president, we secured funds to get a second studio, which was my primary job then. Was recording R&B, jazz, and rap.
Okay. So that brings us here to Maximum Security Studios. Yeah. How did you get this concept, and how did this happen?
Well, this isn't Maximum Security Studio. That is Maximum Security Studio that's housed inside the Institute. The Maximum Security Studio is really here is because of one research idea called Bars Not Bullets. If it wasn't for that, it probably would be housed somewhere else. And now I'm never going to be able to take it out of here because the young brother's not. But that's what it was about. I had this idea about Bars Not Bullets. How do we basically talk crap on record, man, and be cool with that, man? I'll beat you in the battle, man, not to the graveyard. And instill some of the resilience and agency building exercises that I had learned along the way that changed people. That's why the studio is primarily in here. I've spoken with some people from the community that are older than me who would really like for me to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't want them saying certain stuff, that I shouldn't allow certain stuff to be said. I can't, the word is escaping me right now. But I'm not going to do that. I don't, with regards to art, I just don't believe in that. Even if it's offensive, man, I mean, it has to be said. That maybe that's how I learned about offensiveness. I mean, this contributes to the culture. It has to be said. And if we just want to play apologetics, where were all of these concerned citizens when Rambo shooting up all these people for 2 hours in a doggone movie theater? So, I mean, I'm not going to restrict what they say. If I happen to hear something that I know is going to lead to something, now I'm going to step in and ask them, what you think, maybe you're going to reconsider that. I wonder if that could be better said like this, but I'm not a tyrant, I'm not. Art is art. There is some art that I find personally offensive, but I understand the nature of art and the reason for it.
Right. So it's more than the studio here, right?
Oh yeah.
So what's all going on?
This is primarily workforce development and a community health center. We have what we call a 4 health model. We're concerned with your physical health. As I said, when I say you, I'm talking about the third person being the people who have been touched by justice. This whole facility is for people who have been touched by justice or poverty. And a lot of times what you find at the intersection of that is people who are also gay or homeless or veterans or whatever, justice and poverty kind of touches everyone. In that 4 health model, the first thing we're concerned with is your physical health. Well, with your mental health. When you come in, you'll be given a tablet and you check in, and in privacy, we see how the health are you, mentally. Then you do a physical vital health checkup. That's the second health measure that we're concerned with. The third health measure that we're concerned with is the community, man. A couple of our programs, our call center and our street team is we get people healthy and we get people to our fourth health model, which I'll get to. They need a safe community to stay in. Instead of getting the fourth health model, which is a good white collar job in data analytics or audio engineering, and running off to the suburbs. No, the health of your community should incline you to stay if it's in good shape. So that's what we are. We're a community health center concerned with those four healths.
You know how I knew we was meant to be together, man, or get together, bro? Is you just said my catchphrase, my slogan. Mental health and physical health is much needed in America, especially in the Black community.
Yes.
You can go through all my shows, you're gonna hear me say that 50 million times.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you, man, I ain't one of those black men, like, I'm all right, it's gonna go away. And, bro, we do such a disservice to our families. Man, you mentally struggling, bro. Bro, come on, man. That's not real. You have to go and get some help, man. You have to go. Bro, you think I want to go to that, urologist and have him, put his finger in me? No. But this is for my family. This is for my loved ones, man. And this is for my, if nothing else, just for my good wellness, overall, just enjoying life. We have to do that, man. We Black and brown men are the number one group in that, what you're talking about, who won't go take care of physical and mental health. Yes, that's a big problem in America. I'm glad that you talk about it. I hope you continue, and anytime you have me on.
Yeah, when I do news stories, and it's like I'm gonna do a story later about the young lady who recorded herself throwing her 3 kids into the pool and drowning them and killing herself. I'm not sure if you heard about that, but in that show, I will say physical health and mental health is much needed in our community. In America, if we put a little bit more money towards resources for physical and mental health, we can take a little bit of that money out the prison system. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean that would quit feeding that, and you're right, because our correction system has become our mental health facilities.
Yeah, because back in the day, they used to have old movies, and there was always like insane asylums and things like that. Like, it's none of that no more.
No, and now they're. Let me walk carefully here, because I don't want to sound like I'm giving these guys a break on anything. But what does a correctional officer really know about mental health? That's another duty being put on them guys in this crazy environment that they already work in, that they're really not equipped for. Same as with the police, I wish people would quit calling the police when their family are having mental health crisis. Call their uncle, call the teacher that they love. Quit calling the police to show up and kill them,
Right. Tell us a little bit about all the activities that'll be happening in this building.
So our programs will be taking place at basically 2 sites. All of we have 4 basic programs. We have a data analytics program, teaching data analytics, and one of them is a little more statistics intensive. We have an audio engineering program, teaching the art of audio engineering, not just rapping, but also learning how to do the craft of recording. Our other program is podcast and live streaming. And then our final program is office management. So, I mean, if you're in one of those programs, primarily you'll be here, but evening classes will be held at the Catherine McCauley Center. And that's where lectures will take place in labs in here. The computers that are up against the wall, those are primarily they're going to be for students who are in our workforce development. But anyone is going to be able to come in if they want to work on GED, if they want to work on learning how to read, want to work on their ACT, or just need access to Kylie. She's contributed a lot to my thinking since she came on board. Some people just need access to the internet. They have to go all these different places from this community. So one of the tables will be an internet cafe where people can come in and they need to check email or whatever. And there will be a charge. The charge will be, how the health are you? You got to let me know how you doing. No, black man, I need to take your blood pressure today. As simple as that. And I don't think that's too big of a charge for using my electricity, my internet.
All right. So how are you paying the bills?
Right now, it's been mostly out of my own pocket. A little bit of donations from different people, mostly academics. We're really hopeful about a couple of grant opportunities that we have coming down the pike. And we're even more hopeful about a couple local situations that have manifested with the Rotary Club and Breakfast for Champions. They really can seem to have come through at a time where we really fighting to stay open. And I think now we'll be all right if we get just a little bit of support beyond that. And I'll be able to tell you a little bit more in a couple of weeks here. But yeah, that's how we've been getting it out of my pocket. But bro, it's that important to me. You see the name of it. If I don't do an institute, who gonna do it, man? Who gonna come back and teach? Why does everybody have to have a blue collar job? There's nothing wrong with blue collar job. But why can't we have some white collar employment? Why can't we have some wellness programs to make you stay? Why can't I give you a stipend to make you stay and finish the program?
Right. Because I say, ain't no way in hell a man should go to prison for 5 years and not come out knowing how to build a house from the ground up.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You have a lot of idle time and mostly no programming that's available. And so a lot of people never learn how to build that house, at least in that sense. There's another sense that I kind of use that phrase that isn't positive. But you're right, with so much time, how are people not coming home with these top-notch skills? And why did I only attain these skills by virtue of misfortune, my mom passing, and me taking the money that this lady who had been a cook and caterer her whole life, left to make sure that, I was all right.
How do the people reach you?
We are easy to find online. You can find us at www.ifidon'tdoit.org. You can go to Facebook and find us at the If I Don't Do It Institute. And if all else fails, you can come to the corner of 1st and 15th. That is 1501 1st Avenue Southeast. And most days, some will be here, even though we're not officially open until November 3rd.
All right. Well, Dale, I really appreciate you. Your story was very inspiring. I'm pretty sure that somebody's going to look at this interview and they're going to say, damn, I'm pretty smart too. I just never thought of focusing my skills on, the specifics or whatever. Maybe life is too hard or something. I don't know. But, I got a feeling it's going to help somebody, man. 27 years in prison, right?
27 years in prison, man.
Damn, that's a long time, man. Long time without a woman, remember now.
Indeed.
Apply the pressure, pressure. Apply the pressure, pressure. Apply the pressure, yeah, pressure. Apply the pressure.